I think maybe it is just time to get into Resident Evil. I've been putting it off for no real reason. Um, I mean, one reason is because I kind of wanted maybe a few more viewers, but if I take that route, playing all these random old games that, yes, are fun, maybe playing something that's a bit more in the mainstream. I mean, the Resident Evil games are old, most of them by now. But maybe there's more people wanting to see Resident Evil being played than an old Zelda game, for example. Or an old Final Fantasy game, for example. So I'm not going to get people into the stream watching a Resident Evil game if I'm not playing a Resident Evil game. So I think that's what we'll do. Now, what I should probably do is have things racked up correctly. So if I do get to a point like tonight, where I've got 2.5 hours to spare, I don't finish early. I just bang, get straight onto the next one. So, I think what I'll do... I mean, the story is pretty crazy for Resident Evil. And it does go all over the place. And I'm certainly no expert on the story. But in terms of trying to understand it and look at it with fresh eyes, I think what we'll do is just start at the beginning chronologically, and we'll start with Resident Evil 0. Now, it's not a revered game, I don't think. But I like it. I think it's good enough. There are some story and or characterization inconsistencies between 0 and the first game, as we'll point out when we get there. Still, I think I would like to start with 0 first, because it is the beginning of the story, technically. Even if you can argue it's just a tacked on prequel to the overall story, really. I think that's what we'll start with. Likewise, when I get into the Silent Hill series, I think I will start with Silent Hill 0, even though it's like the 5th game that they made. Yes, Lolo, you're correct. I will just begin with whatever game I like. You know, you've got to do things your own way. You know, if I'm too considerate of what other people want, or may want, well, I'm just guessing what that is anyway. So I think that's what I'll do. Now, with these series that are all have extremely long, intricate and complicated storylines, of course there's going to be inconsistencies. Yeah, and there's definitely something to consider, looking at it as a work of art, going in the order of release. Because if you've played them from when they were first released, that's the order you'll play them in. And maybe even youngsters like you, coming back to them years later, you'd play them in the order they were released. But I kind of want to look at it in terms of the story, and maybe not intentionally pick holes in it, but look for any inconsistencies. That is fun for me to do. So I think we'll do that. Again, I'm not an expert on the series, but I have played them a lot. So I'm definitely not going to be doing a speed run. I don't remember the game too well, but I do think it will come back to me as I'm playing it. I don't think it was that many years ago that I last played them, so it should come back fairly quickly. But they are kind of relatively short games. Like, I could very well get through Resident Evil 0 in 6 hours or less. It's definitely not going to take 12 hours, is it? So I will make sure I have the first one racked up, ready to go. Now, I do have different versions of... Obviously, you've got the originals and remakes. So I think what I'll do in that regard is I'll play the original Resident Evil PS1 version and then play the remake directly after, just to comparison, have that comparison. The gameplay's fun enough and they are different enough that no, I'm not. Don't worry, I've learned my lesson from Dead Space. I'm not going to be jumping on hard. I'm going to be playing on whatever constitutes normal difficulty. No, so I'm not playing on professional or hard mode or anything like that. If there's a choice... Really? Is it that difficult? I don't remember. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. See, I remember the enemies are based around leeches, but I don't remember exactly what they do or don't do. It'll be interesting though. So we'll just play it through in order. Now, unfortunately, I don't have, and hence have not played, the recent remake of Resident Evil 3. I heard it's very good. I would like to play it, but I doubt I will have a copy of it before we get to that point. So we'll skip over that one and come back to it. That's fine. So I do have a lot of games. In terms of the story, my understanding of it at least is it's very much split into two separate parts. You've got the first part of the story, which is really the Raccoon City incident, which is, 0, 1, 2, 3, and everything that happens around those games. Which I do have a couple of games set there in that. We'll look at those games on the periphery. And then the second part of the story, which is everything that happens after, in the aftermath of the Raccoon City incident. So we'll just take it as it comes. I think that would be a fun thing to do. All right, okay, that sounds dangerous. I'll have to watch out for that. I don't remember it being too difficult on normal. And if I save it frequently, even a massive noobish old man like me should be able to get through it, I think.